Hello, welcome again to Bangee Media, the Heavenly News. My name is Bangee Lawal, and we are come again today with a lot of topic to discuss. And the good news is that I have one of my son here who has bagged so many degrees from different countries of the world in law. And we do know that lawyers, they are vast in knowledge, they are vast in what is going on in the society and in the community. And I can guarantee you this young guy is here in the studio, but not physically in this studio, but via Zoom. Is going to help us to shed light on so many things that's shrouded, that is not that clear to many of us, even including me. Before I invited him, we had a couple of discussions, and the way he has been discussing on issues, most especially issues that pertaining to Africa, to Nigeria, I need to bring you down to my studio. Even if you cannot come physically because of the distance, because I know where you are not here in the US, you are in Africa. It will be of benefit if you can find a way of connecting so that you can begin to enlighten people on what you think the way things should be run in the Christendom, in Nigeria, in Africa, and even most especially in the whole world, because this guy has really gone to different schools all over the world. Stay tuned, we'll be back. Welcome again. So now, without much ado, I'm going to introduce my guy into the studio via Zoom. My honorable son. Please welcome me to this studio.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for having me here at your program. It's such an honorable thing here to be interviewed by somebody you consider as a father and who has been a strong influence in my life. Thank you so much, sir, for having me here.
It's a pleasure. I traveled to Nigeria last year, and then I saw a couple of things, and it has been bothering my mind. Seeing the kind of poverty that is in that country, seeing the kind of struggle that is going on there, and looking at the whole situation and considering the fact that this country is wealthy. We have manpower, we have resources, and yet people are living in penury. My first question would be, what do you think could be responsible for this? Because I know you have lived in Nigeria, you went to school in Nigeria, I think you finished your first degree in Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I did.
Before you traveled to UK, traveled to US, and then now you are in Cote d'Ivoire. Tell me, why is condition in Nigeria so deplorable?
Thank you very much, sir. It's an open secret. We all know this. It's a question of leadership. It's just a question of bad leadership and selfishness on the part of our leaders. Definitely Nigeria should be a leader in the Committee of Nations, not just in Africa but in the world. And a lot of progress on the African continent is actually dependent on Nigeria's ability to rise and take its place in the Committee of Nations. The population says it all. Over 150 million people. In some places it has been recorded as over 200 million, and in the world it is said that you have at least one Nigerian if you have to count every 8 black men in the world. And I've not traveled too much, but I've been to a number of countries, and I know that I always see my people everywhere, and it's a testament to the statistics. Unfortunately, we've not been able to have a decent conversation since the time we had our constitution. We've not been truthful to ourselves as a people. We've not really, take the most important things of life. Food, water, shelter. These are the basic necessities of life. We're all taught this, I'm sure, from elementary school. Shelter, clothing, food. They are not there for our people. It's not because we don't have it. It's just because we don't have people who care enough about their people, who care enough about providing the basic necessities of life. There's a certain avariciousness about African leaders, not just Nigerian leaders, that is appalling. And I believe on a man-to-man level, only if we can love ourselves, only if we can be good to ourselves, our situation should not be as bad as it is. So in summary, it's just a question of failure of leadership and selfishness on the part of our leaders.
Which bring me to the second question. When you are talking now, you talk about giving people the basic amenities.
Yes, sir.
The necessary things of life.
Yes, sir.
I'm here in US, and I do know that not everybody in US is rich.
Of course.
But I'm yet to see somebody who can tell me I don't have money to eat, I don't have a place to stay. Even though we do have homeless, I always tell people jokingly, I say, if you don't help yourself, nobody can help you.
Definitely, sir.
Many of our homeless people in America, not that government is not helping them. In fact, some of them, they take them, give them shelter, give them homes. They just want to be like that.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is that in America here, hardly can you find anybody that you can say this one is poor, because everybody has the basic amenity of life.
Absolutely.
And as you said, if that is in place, ability to think,
yes,
ability to be creative, ability to do something to the society will not be difficult.
Exactly.
Now, looking at Africa, talking about people not having basic amenity in places like Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, where you live, African countries. And you have said it that it has to do with leadership. Now, why is it difficult for the leadership to do the right thing? Is it because they are not Christian or they are not religious as people in America, people in London are religious? Because, like I said, I've been in this country for quite a while. People here, from the president to the any level, people are working.
Yes.
And they are working conscientiously.
Yes.
They are working as if somebody is guiding them, is telling them, if you don't do, you'll be in trouble.
Yes.
Even without any supervision, they still do their job. Why is that? Does that mean they have some spiritual understanding of God and say, hey, even though nobody sees me, nobody watch me, but I still need to do the right thing because God Almighty is seeing me? How come that is not happening in Africa? Is it because many of them are not religious, they are not going to church, or what?
Thank you so much, sir. That's such a beautiful foundation to all of this. You know my position already, but of course I have to tell the audience, yes, it's not because they are not religious. We all know that if you're talking about a country that is religious, a continent that is religious, definitely it should be the African continent, in terms of the traditional worship, or even people that are Muslims and that are Christians from virtue of colonialism, and even Christians from, of course, the spread of Islam from the Middle East. A lot of Africans are religious, so that's not a question. It's like I said, it's just a question of lack of love for one another. So you speak about the US, for instance, you talk about Canada, you talk about UK, you talk about the Western countries and everything. And one thing you find out about all these countries is that even recently, as Christians, we may accuse them that, oh, they've left the place of God, they are doing a lot of policies, which is not the point of discussion today, that are not of God. But you find out that these countries were built on Christian principles. Christian principles like love your neighbor as thyself. Okay, so I remember when I was doing my master's at University College London in the UK in 2015, between 2015 and 2016, there was something that was particularly, that endeared me to the English people. They were very nice people. When they see strangers, they want to go all out to help you. I remember I got to Manchester, I had about 3 bags, and a couple of lads, just 2-3 people, they warmed up to me, helped me till I got to the station. Very nice. And I'm like, okay, what's really going on here? It is just their nature. So I was in a train station, and I saw appeals for funds, charities, and they say for every charity you raise about £4 million or so, or as much as high as you can go, the Queen will match it pound for pound. And I got myself thinking, what is really going on here? Do we have these ventures in Africa? Even when we have them, you hear of embezzlement of funds. I mean, so it's a question of something that cuts across just the African continent. I'm in my 30s. I have known about politics. I read the papers since I was 6. I try to be very informed about these issues. And like a great musician in Nigeria would say, who all know him, Fela Anikulapo Kuti. Every time I listen to his music, nothing changes. It is just, you know,
Suffering and smiling.
yeah, God bless you, sir. Suffering and smiling, new wine in old bottles, or vice versa. We just don't love each other enough. There is embezzlement in Western countries. There are scandals every now and then.
Absolutely.
But you don't hear of things that have to do with the basic necessities. Like you said, sir, you talk about homeless people. Of course, I watch a lot of American movies. I remember the first time I go to New York. The destitute in New York, oh my God, I was taken aback. Like, this is not what we see in the movies. But when I did my investigation, I discovered that, yes, there are a lot of issues in these places, but most people, maybe due to drug addiction or one reason or the other, they're on the streets. But there are programs for people. There are benefits for people.
Absolutely.
I give a very good instance. When the recent administration of the President Buhari came into place, they talked about giving 5,000 naira to everybody, and I'm like, I was thinking, are these people
out of their mind?
Yeah, I mean, what can 5,000 naira do to people?
Just imagine.
And we have managed stages of people sharing money that we know doesn't go anywhere. So we just don't love ourselves. One more example, sir, because this is something I'm quite passionate about. Remember COVID?
That was what brought me in.
Yeah, the COVID period, and when people were locked down, nobody could go to work, and people were saying, oh, this COVID is not to the level as it is in Nigeria. Yes, kudos to the government. They did a great job to try and limit the disease. Kudos to them. But a lot of donations were made by churches. A lot of donations were made by people. And what did we see? Our politicians stored these things in houses, stored them in barns, until we remember the EndSARS protest, and a lot of storage houses all over the country were being looted. What reports came out? Oh, we were waiting for the next election to share it. Sir, a carton of noodles, it takes an average noodles 2 years to expire, and that was like 3 years to the next election.
Wow.
So are they going to give people expired products, expired rice? We just don't love ourselves. It's as simple as that.
And now, coming to not loving ourselves, I don't know the statistic of the Christian population in Nigeria as of today. My thinking would have been, with that population increasing, that should have been changed, because the gospel of Jesus Christ that we should love our neighbor as ourselves.
Yes, sir.
So, with that revival going on, are we saying that has not been affecting the policy, the politics, and the plan of the country? What could be responsible for that?
Absolutely. I think a lot of things have changed, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, the body of Christ was not, in my opinion, was not where it was some 15, 20 years ago. There are changes, but they are tangible. They've not gone far enough. What I've discovered really is that the church is very passionate about promoting the message of Christ, both at our home, abroad, taking Nigerian churches outside the country, and even like expanding to a lot of places outside Lagos, Abuja, just spreading the church all over the place. But we are not really focused on the major thing, the people. The people. So a good instance I'll give you, sir. Remember the Catholic Church?
Yeah.
When the Catholic Church came into existence, what was the focus of the Catholic Church? Tangible projects that people could feel. Education. Elsewhere.
I remember I went to, in my elementary school, primary school, I went to Catholic school.
Yes, sir.
In fact, I always tell people that what sown the seed of this spirituality in my life is starting from that place. Yes. And at times, when I want to sit for an exam, I will go to the statue of Mary, kneel down there and pray. And I always work because I always realize that I always do better. So eventually I became Christian. How? Because they started with education. I don't see that happening with some of the Christian these days. Again, I do know that some churches, they have university, they have primary school, they have secondary school. But why is it just dedicated only to the members? Why can't we just spread that out? That wherever we go, we start primary education, we start secondary education that can benefit even the non-Christian, whereby we use that to bring them to Christendom. Do you have anything to say about that?
Absolutely. But I have to correct an impression, sir.
Please go ahead.
The church actually does a lot. They have a lot of schools. Of course, I won't want to mention names so it won't appear as if we are indicting any denomination.
No, exactly.
Of course, so we know in Nigeria the church has a lot of names. But the impression I was trying to correct is that the church is open to everyone. The universities, the schools, by most of the churches are actually open to everyone. The only issue,
hold on,
yes,
what I'm hearing about that is that those education are too expensive for everybody to enter.
That was the impression
Okay,
I was
right.
trying to correct. That it's a question of affordability, that even members of the churches that pay tithes, that pay offering, cannot afford these schools.
Okay.
And that is where we are saying there is an issue. I remember for someone like me, I came from a very humble background. I stayed in a place called Oshodi, Mafuluku, Adesoya. If not for the fathers, they call the hospital Father.
Okay.
If not for that hospital, it's a Christian hospital owned by St. Dominicans, the Catholic Church. They even have a school there, St. Dominican Republic. If not for that hospital, sir, a lot of people in that Mafuluku Oshodi axis cannot afford quality health care. And so it was for schools. But what do we see in the present day? I mean, in the gospel of Christ, the first thing that moved Jesus, every time I read the gospel, is Jesus had compassion.
Absolutely.
He had compassion. And he healed. He gave them food. He healed them before he even gave them a word. The point I'm trying to stress here is that the church is doing a lot, but not enough.
Okay, maybe we don't say they don't do enough. We'll say probably they don't channel it appropriately. How about that? Because like we said, I'm not so sure of what is going on in Nigeria because I don't stay in Nigeria. I came briefly and last year. But I don't think I saw any education there, any secondary, primary school or university there that say this is owned by church and it's free for the general public.
Exactly.
I don't think I saw anything of such.
That is the point. That is the point, sir. So the inability of people to afford these schools is not owned to the general public. The churches will tell you that, oh, they spend a lot of money to develop these places. That is true. But likewise the Catholic Church did. And they made this thing affordable for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So we are saying that if not for anything, at least schools should be affordable for members. I know that I went to a private school owned by a denomination in Nigeria, and I can tell you categorically that 75% of members of that church could not afford the school. And these are members that were the ones that paid initially for seed offerings, that contributed money in getting this school to start. So how do you create a sense of belonging? Of course, the churches will tell you these schools run on generator, it is so expensive, and all that. But what about having a scheme that can make it affordable for 60% of the public? And just let's strike a balance. Everyone knows it's difficult to do a business in Nigeria. Don't let's forget about that. Absolutely. But I believe if there is a lot of positive drive, there's a lot of outreach in terms of charity, giving access to the public, helping people, all this can be done. The question I always ask myself was, how was the Catholic Church able to do it? That conventional Pentecostal Christian churches have not been able to execute it. So we need to do better. The church certainly needs to do better.
Hold it there. We'll come back. Again, welcome back. This is Bangee Media Troop, the Heavenly News. The next topic I would like to talk now is why people say, as a Christian, when you want to do business with another Christian, you always meet with resistance. Some of them is like, no, don't bring Christianity into this. Let us just talk strictly on business. And my thing is that, why are you talking about don't let us bring God into the business when we do know that in some cases maybe it's God that gave you this business you want to do? Is there any reason why? I have my own reason, but I want Adidot to tell me his own reason first. I always call him D-Dot. D-Dot, I want you to give me your own reason. Why we think we should not bring business into, we should not bring Christianity or religion into business when we are doing business, most especially when we are doing business with Christian fellow. Please go ahead before I bring my own reason.
Thank you very much, sir. Yeah. Of course, I believe that we should do business with Christians, and we should always bring God into Christianity. But I understand the point when people say don't bring God into Christianity. The first thing I would say,
don't bring business. Don't bring Christianity into business.
Yes, don't bring Christianity into business. So what they are trying to say, especially in the Western world, is that these people, like the United States, they have a part of the Constitution which says that the United States is a secular state.
Absolutely.
And because of the reasons that they want to bring members of every part of the world together who have different backgrounds, different religions, they don't, how do you cope with that? How do you balance it? So they want people to be led by the principles, basic principles that are fair to everybody. And we would agree with me, irrespective of our religion, what is fair, what is natural justice is the same everywhere in the world.
Absolutely.
Irrespective of where you are, it is the same everywhere. And that's why they are saying, if we are going to bring religion into it, then we'll have double standards that we cannot really compete with. That is one point for most of the Western world. Another issue is that some people are just driven by their passion, by their knowledge. And even as a Christian, I have noticed something. When an human being is quite focused on a particular goal and he puts a lot of energy into it, they receive results.
Absolutely.
So let's give instances. All the big tech companies, the Apples of this world, the Google, and mention it, Dell, HP, even Shell, BP, a lot of all these companies. Can we really say that these places were made by Christians? I don't really think so. So the issue is that even if it's built on Christian principles, exactly,
majority of them probably they are Christian, but they don't carry that Christianity onto their head to the extent that every decision they take is being influenced by that, which is not true. Again, we do know that in the business world.
Yes.
We do know that there's education for that.
Yes.
Many people went to school for that. While you are in school, they are not teaching you the principle of Christianity on how to do business. What they are teaching you is the principle of business. How to do business, how to make profit.
Yes, of course. I agree with you, sir. So essentially what they are saying is bring your A game to the workplace. Give us your best, and we would be able to do a lot. But of course, we know that in recent times there's been a lot of backlash on Christians not being persistent enough, not giving their best, or
being lazy under the pretense of
Christianity. Imagine somebody that is supposed to get to office by 8 o'clock.
It's not there,
and you said he's not going to get here until 9 or 10 because there's a power must change hands going on in his church that his pastor has told him, if I'm the owner of a business, I am sorry, my business, I need to make money to stay afloat so I can pay your salary and pay, and of course pay my own bills.
Absolutely.
If the business is not there, how would power change hands in even your life? So they are talking about some lackadaisical principles that the Bible did not recommend. But of course, it's because we as Christians have not represented God the way we should. So, sir, I give
That's
you...
a great one. Now, again, I'm not trying to cut you short because I said I have my own arguments.
Yes, sir.
When I hear people say, please don't bring religion or don't bring Christianity into this business, what they are saying is, whatever you want to tell me as a Christian, I've had an experience whereby it is not palatable.
Exactly.
Many Christian people have done so many businesses. Even in the church, you help people to get job. We do see how they do the job when they come. And when you look at even the people that we can say they are Christian, how are they doing things? Are they being fair? Are they being honest? And so those people have experienced such a thing where you want to say Christian and say, no. Let us operate on a neutral ground so that I can know the best way to deal with you. When you are now telling me Christian, I might begin to have compassion on you when you are doing something wrong. But if you are not Christian, and I don't claim to be Christian, we can treat ourselves according to the principle and policy of the company.
Exactly.
I think that's what they are saying. Or what do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you, sir. Because you look, when you say it, and I said, oh, don't bring Christianity into this. I'm trying to say that let us, be factual with each other.
Exactly.
And we are not just giving the best representation of ourselves as Christians. I mean, the Bible told us that we should be diligent.
Exactly.
We should be diligent, and if we are diligent, we will stand in front of kings.
We'll be among the
and royalties.
Not among the mean men.
Exactly. So the Bible already sets the standard for us. Christianity is never, let's underline it, it's never an excuse to
for
be
laziness,
sloppy, to be lazy, and not do your work because your Christian brother or your Christian sister got you into work. Rather, we should be excellent. And even if we are excellent, that is the best way to even get people from other religions into the kingdom. When they know that we are not going to compromise.
Absolutely.
When they know that, oh, this person is faithful. Sir, tell me, who should people rather employ? If you are faithful in your job, they know you won't steal because your Christianity says thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not give false witnesses against your neighbor. All these things are biblical principles. If only we can do the right thing as the Bible prescribes, and we are excellent, diligent in our nature, then nobody born of a woman or whatsoever would tell a Christian that don't bring Christianity into business until we get back to being excellent.
So again, like you said, if there's any category of people that should do better in everything they do, personally, I believe it should be Christian.
Absolutely. So.
We do know what the Bible says. I think in Proverbs 22:29, it says, "Say thou a man that is diligent in his business."
Exactly.
He will not sit among the mean men, but he will sit among the kings and queens and royalties. All right. So we expect the Christian to do the best of the best, but in some cases we don't see that. You see that they believe that once you have faith, everything will fall in place. And I always tell people care to listen. Faith is not stupidity.
Faith without works, sir.
It's nonsense.
Exactly.
But I remember that my Bishop David Oriko always say that any faith that want to put all the responsibility on the lap of God is irresponsible faith. To me, when we say we have faith, the faith is for us to do the best of the best. And when you hear Christian telling me that don't bring Christianity into my business, what they are saying is that they don't want laziness, they don't want indolence, they want somebody that will do the job. That's an aberration. I think when I say I am a Christian, people should be more happy to do business with me than when I say I'm not a Christian.
It's like I said before, sir, it's just a question of repositioning Christianity.
Amen.
In the church, we've focused so much on faith that it has been abused.
Absolutely.
The conventional church in Nigeria, in Africa, you hear some miracles and you're wondering, like, this is an impossible miracle. How won't you go to work as a worker and you expect to be paid a salary
Without doing the
without
appropriate
doing
job.
the job and so many things? So we're just saying that when Christians start being responsible and living truly by the biblical principles of being diligent, being faithful, being loyal, being punctual,
Absolutely.
then this statement of don't bring Christianity into business will no longer be there.
It's really aberration.
Exactly.
It's really aberration.
By the way, sir, I saw a video online, Facebook. You know, my generation, we love comedy skits.
Exactly.
And they said, oh, when they say don't bring God into business, they said run. Of course, as a genuine Christian, you run. If they say don't bring God into, that is the other part of it. Because
Exactly.
some people may want to cheat. They may want to be fraudulent,
and they don't want you to
that.
bring the biblical principle, because when I bring biblical principle into things, it forces you to comply. Because I'm
Exactly.
telling you now, God is seeing you, is watching every of your move. That's another caveat to it too.
Yes.
When people say don't bring Christianity to business, it's probably an attempt to dupe you.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's the other side. When they say run, oh, as a Jim Christian brother, that I always want to say everything, oh, God is the standard and everything. Of course I should run. But I think what I should ask myself is that, are these people being fraudulent? Are they trying to do things? That's one thing I've also noticed is that most of the time when you see people that are fraudulent or illegal deals, it's not only against Christian principle. Conventional laws, conventional policies of companies, conventional regulations are also against them.
Exactly.
So whether we are Christians or not, we see these things that are like, oh, at the very least, this is illegal. At the very least, this is against company policy. At the very least, this is against public morality. Then, in such instances, you know that these ones are those fraudulent people, and you should stand your ground. That I will bring God into it, because there's nothing in the laws that is against the Bible. Then, in such places, we should stand our ground because we are doing the right thing.
Okay. So now, as you said, that we should be able to stand our ground and say, yeah, I'm a Christian. You can't, if you don't want to hire me, don't hire me. Which is true, because if I truly believe in Christ, I should be able to stand for Christ in everything I do.
Exactly.
But in a situation whereby, let's take for example, African situation whereby you desperately need job. Nothing is happening for you. Maybe in the society where I live, probably I might have some leverage to say that, because I know there's a job everywhere. If I need job now, if I want to ditch my job that I'm doing now, take another one, it's open, I can get it. But in a situation whereby you are struggling to get a job, a situation whereby you need to even bribe to get a job, and somebody is telling you, please don't bring Christianity to this thing, what do you think such a person will do? I think, to me personally, I think what I will do, again, I won't bring Christianity into the business, into these things. But if I get a job, or if we begin to do the business together, I will begin to prove to you who I am by virtue of doing everything according to the Bible principle, according to the dictate of God. Because the Bible says we should do things as if we are doing it unto God. Even though nobody watches me, nobody is seeing me, when I begin to prove that, I think that will begin to communicate to whoever I'm doing business with that this person is different. I remember a pastor of mine used to say one time, he said there was a place he was working. Anytime he wanted to go to church, the boss will always say, listen, you better take job or take church. He said there was a day I had to tell him, I said, listen, if I don't go to church, I'm going to steal in this company. The reason why I'm not stealing is because I'm still going to that church where they are teaching me the principle of how to live righteously. He said that was how I let him go. So what are we talking about? As a Christian, based on what we are being taught in the church, based on what we are listening to in terms of the word of God, I think we're in better position to do the right thing.
Exactly.
And so if somebody now say don't bring Christianity, I will say, okay, that's fine, but let us do the business. And as soon as I get into the business, I begin to prove to him who I am, and I can use that to even convince him, convert him, and bring him to Christendom. Paul said, when I'm among the pagan, I behave as a pagan. When I'm among the poor, I behave as a poor. When I'm among the drunkard, I behave like a drunkard. Why? Just to bring them into the fold. But if you quickly come and say, I'm a Christian, and if you don't want to do business, you might not be able to save that soul.
Exactly.
Again, one has to be very careful too, because if you say you want to ditch the Christianity in order to get a job, and they begin to initiate you into their secret society, you might know now that you are entering into trouble. But we should be able to balance things out.
Africa is a very, just to follow up, is a peculiar place. And I wouldn't say it's so peculiar because even Asians have this, some part of Europe, especially the Slavic or former Eastern European countries. I once lived in Russia, I once studied there, and I was staggered and baffled about the level of corruption
that is India.
That is India. I just, like my wife would always say, man is the same everywhere.
Everywhere.
But sir, it's very difficult to be a Christian in Africa. That's the truth. Because, like I said, the issue of survival is very crucial.
Now, talking about that issue of survival, I'm going to the next topic. Talking about welfare in Christendom. That is, when we are talking about church growth, having the large congregation, and we do know that among this large congregation, there's a lot of poor people among them. Again, even the Bible,
the poor shall never cease from the land.
Poor shall never cease among the people. We do know there are poor people there.
Yes.
But I remember that during the course of our discussion, we were talking about the churches should come up with a welfare package for members.
Exactly.
I know you have lived in Africa, you have lived in Nigeria. What can you tell me about welfare package for members there? How is it working? Before you say anything, let me quickly say something here. I read one business book, and that man said, I think Napoleon Hill, he said, he does not subscribe to this idea of giving welfare to people. That when you give welfare to people, you make them poor.
Exactly.
People should learn how to get things done by themselves, how to be prosper by themselves. Yeah, this man that wrote this book was in America in those days, and we do in America of today.
Of course.
It's so easy for people to get things done and to make it if you really know what you are doing. But in a society that doesn't help you to grow, like Africa, like Nigeria, no electricity, no functional, or let's say no basic amenity that can even make you succeed.
Nothing works.
Nothing works.
Absolutely nothing works.
So even people want to work, they couldn't work. They want to do something, they couldn't do it. Yeah, the poor is more larger than the rich in that place. And even the rich are even lorded over the poor. I think in a society like that, people need welfare. What do you want to tell me about what's going on in Nigeria?
The church is not doing enough to start with.
Good.
That's just what I have to say. The church is not doing enough. Can the church do more? Absolutely. Should the church do more? Absolutely. Are there ways the church can go about it? So many ways. And I think the church know this. I was given earlier the instance of the Exalts movement. I was a bit taken aback by the cosmetic way the church was going about giving the donations. There is nobody in Nigeria that doesn't know that we have kleptomanias in government. People that have more than enough, but they never stop stealing. Because their sense of insecurity is beyond the heavens. I won't say it's to the heavens. It's absolutely beyond the heavens.
So into the space.
Yes. So when the church, as maybe it's a PR. Yes, Jesus says, "Oh, if you are doing something,
when you are doing something, don't let the left hand
see
know what the right hand is doing."
And some Christians will say, "Oh, we do a lot. We have churches. We have clinics. We have hospitals. We have food banks, and all that." And sir, if there is palpable, if there is significant contribution in the lives of people, significant impact on the lives of people by the church, you would hear it.
Absolutely.
I was growing up as a 6-year-old. I remember there were some churches then. How did the church even get a lot of members? Let's start there. There would always be outreach of food. I mean, people that are poor, that don't know where if they would eat or not, they would come and eat the pop-off, the jollof rice or whatever it is. They will eat, then they will listen. That was how
they will use that to evangelize for them.
Evangelize for them, bring them to school and all that. But what was the church doing during the COVID period? They were advertising in the press, giving donations to Nigeria. Sir, I was baffled.
Which we do know that the system is so corrupt.
Exactly.
It will go nowhere.
You have members that you know. Yes, there were some reports, some churches actually did, to be sincere. Some churches did, but there was a lot of PR going by the church that I, as a Nigerian, as an African that knows a lot about Christian churches, I was really taken about that the church wanted to satisfy the government. And what happened with all those donations? You know it.
Goes nowhere.
They ended up in banks that were looted and led to NSAS movement that people were taking a lot of people all over the country, 36 states of the country. So what stopped the church from reaching out to the members?
Individually,
in every branch, everywhere. The church can do more.
Now
we can do more, and
let me give you an example of how welfare works in this place.
Yes.
And that's why people always say, oh, I want to go to America, I want to go to America. And once you enter into the American system, you just realize that things are working for you. I came to this country.
Even people that are illegal immigrants.
Something is still going on for you. When I came to this country, I didn't come with a bag of money. I wasn't that rich. In fact, to afford the school here for me, for my kid and my children, it's not possible. But when we just started, it was the giving here, giving there, welfare here, welfare there, that we were able
to stabilize
to stabilize ourselves until we got a job. We begin to move, we begin to take care of ourselves, begin to do things for ourselves, and then until we establish ourselves financially in everything. What I want to say is this: when we look at the schools in US, in Britain, in all these westernized countries, don't think it's government that put the money there.
Yes. No.
Individual donated all those money there.
That made money from their businesses.
That
were supported by churches at a very crucial time when they needed it.
Exactly. When you look at the welfare, food bank and everything, churches donated
yes,
there.
The churches even started the whole idea of food banks in the United States.
They don't even know who is going to eat the food. They don't know whether it's going to be Christian or pagan, everything. But they put in something there. When disaster happen, the church rise up to both members of the church and non-members of the church, giving things. I remember this past COVID-19 that hit, that people could not work. Even the neighbors will come around and say, what do you need? Donated food here, giving food here, giving drinks there, do all manner of things for people. Again, we do know that many churches are doing things over there that nobody knows. In fact, recently I got to know that winners, what they did during the pandemic is unbelievable. The same thing will redeem. But what we are saying is that probably things should spread more to members, giving them some basis where they can stand and begin to do things. Experience has shown that when people are hungry, they will not be able to think, and they can never be creative.
So we are talking more in the likes of skill acquisition programs for members. We have, I know there's a business seminar in every church, but really, I stand to be corrected. Most of these business meetings are becoming cliches. Like, oh, everybody has a business department where people come to meet, and what you find out in most of the time is that these are just avenues of people donating money, people that are well to do. But we are talking about having projects that are skill acquisition for people that, you know, I'm a Fountain of Life member. That was the church I started with, and I know Fountain of Life Church does a lot for people. They do. In fact, it's one church I am so incredibly proud of, and a number of churches do this. But we are saying, as the body of Christ, we need to do more. Everybody, a little cheap will go far. Let's have tailoring programs. Let's have catering programs. Let's have people that want to learn for organizing, that want to do, you know, the basic things that those fraudulent politicians come to do during elections. The church can do it.
They'll just fake people and then just to get
empower
their
people
way.
And you know, when people can stand on their own, make money, of course they can contribute even to the sustainability, to the growth of the church. When you ask them to come and build churches, they can do that, and that way, that those schools that they build can be affordable to members and outsiders.
That now leads us to the next question. Christians in politics.
Yes.
What do you want to tell me about it? When we're talking about Christian in politics, again, like you said, it's so easy to convince people. Why is it so easy for Christians to bring people into the kingdom? All I just need to do is to tell you, look at my life, give you a testimony of where I started, what my life is now when I'm a Christian. And then probably if God gave me the grace and I have this spiritual capacity, I pray for you and something happened to you immediately right there. I can guarantee you on Sunday you meet me at my church.
Of course.
Because you are, Jesus Christ was telling his disciples, is telling those people, say, did you follow me for nothing? It's not because of the bread
course.
I gave you yesterday.
Yes.
Where there's carcass, the Bible says eagles will gather. If the church does not do it, the politician will take it.
Of course.
And then before you know what's happening, the Christian will be politicized. What do you want to tell me when we are talking about Christian in politics?
So
I know we discussed this before.
Yes.
We say Christian should be part of the politics and all that.
Yes, absolutely. So growing up, I know there was a lot of debate about Christians not going into politics because politicians are fraudulent people. They do a lot of illogical things, and nobody that is a Christian can tell the truth in politics. But the old church in Nigeria, especially I think between the 60s and 90s, that's a significant time in our life. About 30 to 35 year period, we had Christians not being very active in politics. The good news right now is that the church is coming up. Absolutely. Yes, there's been a transformation, but we are saying that at the very least, let's keep that transformation burning, or let's even take it a notch higher. The notion that as a Christian you should not go into politics for whichever place that still remains in the Christendom should be totally erased. Totally erased.
Now, but do we know the reason why they are saying as a Christian you should not be in politics? Is it because of the way they practice politics in Nigeria? Because to me, I still believe the politics in Nigeria is dirty business.
Of course, politics
and as a Christian who is truly Christian, spirit-filled Christian, who doesn't want to soil his white garment, do you think such a person should be involved in politics?
I think as long as you love people,
okay,
you should be involved in politics.
So tell me, how is that going to be possible? Because I do have one guy, like I will call him my son too.
Yes, sir.
He approached me a couple of years back and say, Uncle, I want to go into politics.
Yes.
I needed money. And I sent money to him, blah, blah. After some years, I didn't hear anything. I said, let me just call and say, hey, how far? Are you now the chairman of the local government? He said, for where? He said, the Afobaje of Lagos said, it can't be, it's not his turn. He should go and sit down. I said, really? Who is that Afobaje that said you are, with your level of education, with your passion to help people, and somebody is telling you, you should go and sit down, it's not your turn yet. I was so surprised and I was taken aback. I said, so somebody can tell me that it's not. I do know that's happening here in America here too.
Oh, go there. That's a very important point.
But I still believe that even if the Afobaje say no, you can't go. If you go out and campaign and people loves you, you are able to convince people. The Afobaje of that day will come back and say, okay, I think we recognize you, come, we will support you. I said, why that is not happening in Nigeria? Maybe I should throw this question to you.
So
why can somebody tell me it's not my turn? I should go and wait. Maybe, I know people will say, hey, Bangee, I think you have already been westernized.
Of course.
Which is true.
Yes. These things happen. It's godfatherism in politics in Nigeria. There's godfatherism even in Western countries, even though it's been done in a subtle way and everything. But the major issue is that if you truly love people, you'll be part of politics. Why do I say this, sir? So our politicians make laws, right?
Yeah.
These laws guide societies. If as a Christian I cannot be a politician that will contest for election in the House of Representatives, House of Senate, whatever political structure you have in your country, how do I make laws that transform the lives of people? How do I do things that do not go against our religious beliefs? How do we do that? So the only way you can affect people's life It's not just by saying God bless you.
Absolutely.
Let's pray from now till tomorrow. If we are not in government and we don't take action, if Christians do not have the machinery of government in place, we cannot go far. Do not let us lie to ourselves.
Okay, now tell me, how will Christians be able to penetrate through those?
It's a siege mentality.
Those cabal
yes.
in Nigeria that is difficult for if you are not part of them, and we do know that they do so many various activities that a decent Christian will not want to be part of. How will they be able to penetrate through? We do know that our current vice president,
yes,
he went there as a pastor, as a Christian, but we do hear what all manner of things they are talking about him right now. It's like you already saw his name, even though this guy was trying to do his best.
Yes.
But only one tree cannot make a forest.
Of course.
So now tell me, how do you think that is possible?
Thank you so much, sir. I have the utmost respect for the current vice president of Nigeria. He is the most cerebral, arguably the most cerebral vice president that we have, and I'm really praying for him, that God helps him, God uphold him. Even Boss Mustafa, the secretary of the state government, of the federal government, is another Christian. I'm praying that God will help them. Amen. And I hope we will have more Christians in power soon. But going back to address your question, how we solve it is the siege mentality. The siege mentality is that Christians have numbers, huge numbers, across the southern part of Nigeria, even in the northern part of Nigeria. Because
now, so again, you are talking about that because of the large number we have, when we do election, we win. But we do know that the rigged election in Nigeria.
Yes, elections
it's not the people that bring people in.
Sir, with due respect, elections are rigged, but if Christians...
Tell me, if the election is going to be rigged, and then the majority of the Christians voted for somebody and they rig the election and that person doesn't come
so in all honesty,
how you reconcile that?
In all honesty, there's a lot of political apathy in Nigeria. So in places, I mean, yes, politics is dirty, but I can say from things I've seen on ground that people that vote, the electoral system has improved a bit, but what we have is political apathy. And because Christians don't vote, it is easy to manipulate elections. So one of the things the church can do is advocacy. Let the members know that it is your civic responsibility to vote. We do not have to, be too political to say vote for this candidate, because that puts us in a bad place. If that person gets into government and is not doing enough,
right,
it's a problem. But we can push people out to say vote, just to increase the number of people that vote. That is one. Then, sir, I would not be realistic in terms of my social awareness to say Christians do not have the power to change. I remember in the last 3-4 administrations that we have, there is a church that is really influential in Nigerian politics, and that is the Redeemed Christian Church of God.
Exactly.
Every time a president wants to emerge, from the time of the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, they go to camp. I remember how the Southwest was divided about voting for Olusegun Obasanjo.